Have you ever walked past an empty bedroom, paused in the doorway, and felt your heart unexpectedly ache? It's the silence that catches you off guard. The quiet rooms that once echoed with the comforting chaos of laughter. Slamming doors and late-night whispers now stand strangely still, leaving you to wonder where all those years have gone. This quietness hits differently. It whispers of endings, of chapters closed and transitions that feel anything but comfortable. It's a moment so universally powerful, yet deeply personal, that it often stops us in our tracks, forcing us to ask, who am I now? Psychologists have named this moment empty nest syndrome, but naming it doesn't make the ache any less real. It's more than just loneliness. It's the profound feeling of loss, a quiet grief that comes from years of giving your heart, energy, and identity to your children. Perhaps you poured yourself so completely into parenting that the question of who you'd be afterward never fully surfaced, until now. And suddenly that question stares back at you from empty hallways and abandoned bedrooms, confronting you with an uncertainty you've never known. Yet here's something surprising. Research consistently reveals a hidden truth behind the ache. Parents who successfully navigate this transition often discover profound happiness and fulfillment waiting quietly on the other side. Statistically speaking, most parents report significantly higher life satisfaction within 2 years of their children leaving home. It's almost shocking, isn't it, to think that what feels like loss could secretly hold the keys to your most joyful years ahead. But getting there isn't automatic. It demands vulnerability, courage, and the willingness to face difficult questions. You must first acknowledge and honor the emotional reality of this stage. Let yourself grieve what's changing. Allow yourself to pause in front of that empty bedroom and shed tears if you need to. Recognize the strength in feeling deeply and honestly. Because embracing these emotions fully is not just therapeutic, it's essential. This moment is raw, honest, and beautifully human. It invites you to rediscover yourself through genuine self-reflection. So here's the question you must confront openly and courageously. Is this emptiness the end, or could it possibly be a new beginning, one you didn't even realize you needed? Carl Jung once made a statement that resonates painfully with many parents. The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parents. At first, that might sound harsh. After all, our devotion and sacrifice are often born from deep love and selflessness. Yet beneath those good intentions lies a quiet truth we rarely acknowledge. In dedicating everything to our children, we sometimes unintentionally neglect our own dreams, our own potential. This neglected life silently shapes our children's burdens, as they sense, however subconsciously, the weight of our unmet aspirations. This powerful realization presents a hidden invitation. The empty nest becomes a gentle whisper, nudging you to finally live that unlived life. But embracing this invitation is far from easy. It demands facing the uncomfortable truth that somewhere along the way, you may have forgotten yourself. It asks you to answer honestly, who would I be if I allowed myself the freedom to pursue my passions fully? Emma Gatewood confronted this very question, yet most people have never even heard her remarkable story. At age 67, after raising 11 children and enduring decades of personal sacrifice, Emma made a decision that shocked everyone who knew her. She decided to hike the entire Appalachian Trail, alone. She set out with nothing but a makeshift sack and sheer determination. Her family dismissed it as an impossible fantasy. Her neighbors whispered doubts about her sanity. Yet Emma pressed forward, facing fierce storms, harsh wilderness, and her own self-doubt. Against all odds, this grandmother became the first woman ever to complete the entire 2,168-mile trek by herself, defying expectations and redefining what life after parenting could mean. Emma's journey wasn't merely about conquering a physical challenge. It was symbolic of reclaiming her identity, one step at a time. Her story boldly confronts the assumptions we hold about aging, parenting, and personal limits, shattering them entirely. She proved the unlived life doesn't have an expiration date. It's always waiting patiently, no matter how long it has been neglected. Joseph Campbell beautifully summarized this powerful truth. We must be willing to let go of the life we've planned, so as to have the life that is waiting for us. The life you planned was filled with nurturing children, managing schedules, and endless responsibilities. But what if your true calling, your authentic self, is still quietly waiting to be discovered now that your nest has emptied? Let this sink in deeply. This isn't just inspiration, it's a serious, life-changing invitation. Now ask yourself honestly, will you accept it? Will you dare to pick up your unlived dreams and explore who you might still become? Because your empty nest isn't just a loss, it's the quiet, powerful beginning of a story you haven't yet told. But now have the courage and freedom to start writing. Why is it so incredibly difficult to let go of the ones we love most deeply? Why do we hold on, sometimes so tightly that it hurts? Perhaps it's because letting go doesn't just mean releasing our children. It means surrendering a piece of ourselves, a role we've cherished, and a certainty we've come to rely on. But here lies the uncomfortable truth we rarely speak aloud. Holding on too tightly not only stifles the growth of our children, it also prevents us from growing ourselves. Pixar's animated short film Bao captures this emotional tension with shocking accuracy. The story unfolds around a mother who magically brings a tiny dumpling to life. She showers this little creature with boundless affection, raising him carefully, lovingly, protectively. But as the dumpling grows older and seeks independence, the mother feels threatened and desperately tries to hold on, going so far as to swallow him whole in a startling, emotional climax. Audiences were stunned by this surreal act, yet deep down they understood exactly what it meant. It symbolized the desperate, consuming fear of losing our children to their own independence, the panic we feel when confronted by the realization that love sometimes means stepping back and letting them find their own way. The film ultimately reveals this scene as a dream, a vivid representation of a mother's inner struggle with releasing control. The lesson is clear. Letting go is painful, yes, but holding on too tightly can consume both you and the one you love. This profound narrative echoes a deeper psychological truth. James Hollis, a renowned Jungian psychologist, offered parents powerful guidance when he wrote, "You are here to be who you are, and to go onward toward your own destiny without having to worry about pleasing us." This isn't simply advice for children. It's permission for parents to let go, to free themselves from the burden of needing constant validation from their children's choices. The strength in letting go doesn't diminish the parent-child bond. Rather, it transforms it into something richer, more mature, and profoundly meaningful. Studies support this paradoxical truth, revealing that parents who transition into friendship-based relationships with their adult children experience deeper emotional closeness than ever before. This closeness is possible precisely because of the trust and respect inherent in genuine independence. It might seem counterintuitive, but your willingness to let go emotionally will likely lead to a stronger, more fulfilling relationship with your children in the long run. Still, the process of releasing your children can feel overwhelming, almost impossible at times. It's essential to acknowledge that reality fully. There is grief in this letting go, a sadness that must be honored. It's okay to feel uncertain, frightened, even heartbroken as you redefine this relationship. But it's also crucial to remind yourself that holding on tightly doesn't prevent loss. It only prolongs the pain and delays growth. Letting go is ultimately an act of profound courage, an acknowledgement of love's truest form, trust. It means believing deeply in your children's strength and your own resilience. Ask yourself now, what fear is holding you back from trusting this natural next step? What freedom and joy might await you and your child on the other side of this courageous release? After decades spent raising children, parents often find their identities so deeply intertwined with the role of caregiving that the departure of their kids feels like losing themselves. The question that quietly haunts many in these moments is both simple and profound. Who am I now that they're gone? Laura confronted this unsettling question at the age of 59 in circumstances even more challenging than most. Her youngest child had just moved out when her marriage of 27 years ended abruptly. Facing an empty home and the disintegration of the life she'd known, Laura could have easily succumbed to despair. Instead, she made the brave decision to lean into the discomfort of her newfound solitude. She sold the family home, an act filled with sadness but also symbolic hope, and moved into her own apartment, marking the beginning of a deliberate journey toward rediscovery. Initially, it was difficult. Loneliness can be painfully real in the silence of an empty apartment. Yet Laura embraced intentional actions to reclaim herself. She joined social groups specifically designed for people navigating major midlife changes. Through new friendships, genuine conversations, and meaningful connections, she gradually rebuilt her identity. For the first time in years, Laura began exploring what she truly enjoyed, not as a mother, not as a wife, but simply as herself. Today, she describes her life as profoundly satisfying, filled with purpose and genuine joy she'd never anticipated. Laura's courageous journey underscores a transformative truth. Even the most challenging endings can open doors to incredible self-discovery. Laura's story isn't simply inspirational. It reflects powerful psychological insights that midlife can actually become the most authentic chapter in your life. Research consistently confirms that midlife reinvention is not only possible but statistically probable for those who actively pursue it. One startling statistic found that 82% of midlife adults who attempted a career change succeeded. Even more striking, entrepreneurs over 50 often outperform younger counterparts due to their experience and maturity. This isn't wishful thinking, it's evidence-based reality, challenging the damaging narrative that midlife means limitation. This phase in life is perfectly captured by the poet Robert Frost's quiet wisdom. The afternoon knows what the morning never suspected. The years you've lived aren't a hindrance. They're an asset, filled with wisdom, resilience, and insight your younger self could not even fathom. Your afternoon years are uniquely rich with possibility, precisely because you now understand yourself more deeply and honestly than ever before. So, the real challenge isn't discovering who you are. It's giving yourself permission to remember. Perhaps there was a hobby you loved, but abandoned in the chaos of parenting, a dream you've quietly tucked away, or simply activities that once filled your heart with genuine joy. This is the time to dust off those forgotten passions, whether it's picking up a guitar again, painting canvases long neglected, or traveling to places you've always longed to explore, pause for a moment now and deeply consider. What is one passion you've put aside for years that you're finally ready to reclaim? Imagine the fulfillment and joy waiting for you if you embraced this new chapter fully. Because here's the beautiful truth. The person you're rediscovering isn't a stranger. It's the most authentic, joyful version of yourself that's been patiently waiting all along. Starting over can feel daunting at any age, but the fear of beginning again in midlife can be uniquely paralyzing. We quietly worry it's too late, too difficult, or even impossible, but the truth, beautifully expressed by an anonymous source, is strikingly different. Don't be afraid to start over. This time, you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience. Let those words sink deeply into your consciousness for a moment, because they carry profound wisdom. This isn't youthful optimism, it's mature hope, grounded in reality. One of the most powerful metaphors illustrating midlife renewal is the ancient myth of the phoenix. In legends spanning cultures and centuries, the phoenix, a majestic, mythical bird, voluntarily sets itself aflame when it senses its end approaching, allowing itself to be consumed by fire. From the ashes, however, it rises again, renewed, stronger, and wiser. This metaphor isn't merely poetic. It speaks directly to the profound emotional truth at the heart of midlife. It's a vivid reminder that endings and beginnings are deeply intertwined. That loss often clears the way for something entirely new and magnificent to emerge. But perhaps you think this kind of radical reinvention is meant only for myths or the young. Consider again the extraordinary real-life story of Emma Gatewood. At 67 years old, after decades of raising 11 children and quietly enduring life's hardships, Emma made a decision that shocked everyone around her. She would hike the Appalachian Trail alone, all 2,168 miles of it. Her children worried, neighbors doubted her sanity, and society dismissed her outright. Yet Emma didn't waver. With homemade gear and relentless determination, she pressed forward, confronting storms, hunger, injury, and isolation. And against every expectation, she succeeded, becoming the first woman ever to complete the Appalachian Trail alone. Emma Gatewood didn't merely finish a hike. She shattered expectations about age, capability, and personal transformation. Emma's astonishing journey raises a provocative question. What holds us back from igniting our own phoenix moments? Often it's the quiet disbelief we internalize, the voices that whisper we're too old, too settled, or simply not enough. Yet Emma's story confronts these self-limiting beliefs with breathtaking clarity. If a grandmother of 11 could reinvent herself in such a profound way, imagine what's possible for you. The truth about midlife renewal isn't just anecdotal. It's powerfully supported by scientific research. Studies reveal that life satisfaction typically follows a U-shaped curve, dipping in our 40s and early 50s, only to rise steadily afterward. Statistically, people often find their greatest happiness after the age of 50, precisely because they begin to live authentically, freed from earlier expectations and roles. Life expectancy today far surpasses what previous generations experienced, meaning at 50 or 60, you may have decades, an entire second adulthood ahead. You are not nearing the end. You are standing at the edge of a new and exciting chapter. But renewal doesn't happen passively. It requires intentional actions, courageous decisions, and willingness to step outside your comfort zone. Psychological research highlights practical strategies that genuinely facilitate successful midlife transformation. Reconnecting with passions you've neglected, setting clear, achievable goals, strengthening supportive social networks and maintaining a mindset of openness and curiosity. Elizabeth Gilbert, who captured hearts worldwide with her memoir, Eat, Pray, Love, describes midlife renewal vividly, illustrating how deliberate self-exploration can yield profound joy and fulfillment. So pause now and courageously ask yourself, what would your phoenix moment look like? Which dreams have you quietly put aside, thinking the chance had passed? Because your empty nest might just be the very moment you've unknowingly awaited, the perfect opportunity for extraordinary renewal. If fear whispers doubts into your ear, remind yourself boldly, you aren't starting over empty-handed. You're starting from a place of unmatched experience, wisdom, and strength. Are you ready to let yourself rise? When your children leave home, they leave behind more than empty rooms. They leave behind a space within your identity, a void in your days that can initially feel overwhelming. Yet how you choose to fill that space becomes the most crucial decision of this new chapter. One mother beautifully captured this profound realization when she wrote, "The empty nest isn't a sudden emptiness, it's more like a quiet shift inside you, about the space they leave behind and how you choose to fill it." Randy experienced this shift profoundly when her youngest child moved away to college. Returning home afterward, she and her husband felt untethered, confronting silence and emptiness they'd never expected. Initially, the quiet was unsettling, a daily reminder of absence. Yet soon, Randy began noticing opportunities hidden within this newfound quiet. Suddenly, weekends became spontaneous adventures rather than carefully scheduled obligations. Friendships that had been neglected for years suddenly blossomed again, richer than ever. Her marriage, once defined by parenting, transformed into something deeper, filled with conversations, laughter, and rediscovery. Visits from her adult children became precious, joyous reunions rather than daily routines. Randy's reflection is powerful. I realized our nest hadn't emptied, it had expanded in beautiful ways I couldn't have imagined. What about those whose journey feels more complicated, even more daunting? Laura's story offers profound hope, even in the face of significant life disruptions. After her youngest child left home, her marriage of nearly 3 decades suddenly ended, confronting her with the stark emptiness of loss. Laura had every reason to surrender to despair. Instead, she chose courageously to rebuild. Selling the family home, moving into her own space, and joining social groups focused on renewal became intentional acts of reclaiming her life. Today, Laura describes her existence not as empty or diminished, but as more fulfilled and authentic ever before. Laura's experience vividly demonstrates a powerful truth. Even the deepest emptiness can be transformed into remarkable meaning, purpose, and joy. The legendary story of the eagle provides another vivid metaphor of this deliberate renewal. Facing decline, the eagle retreats high into the mountains and painfully sheds its old feathers, claws, and even its beak. This difficult, uncomfortable shedding ultimately allows new feathers and talons to grow, renewing the eagle's strength and vitality, allowing it to soar higher than ever before. This allegory speaks directly to your own journey. Yes, embracing change can be deeply uncomfortable, even painful, but it is often precisely this discomfort that leads to profound personal growth. Just as the eagle emerges renewed by confronting and enduring temporary pain, you too can consciously choose to face the discomfort of change, ultimately emerging stronger, more authentic, and profoundly renewed. How exactly do you fill this newfound space practically? Begin by deliberately choosing activities and dreams that ignite your passion. Revisit hobbies you once loved but set aside, painting, dancing, gardening, traveling, or allow yourself to explore entirely new interests. Seek community groups, workshops, or courses that align with your passions. Strengthen relationships, reconnecting deeply with your spouse or rediscovering friendships you've quietly missed. Embrace solitude as a space for reflection, allowing quiet moments to become intentional acts of self-care and growth rather than loneliness. Each small step toward building your new life transforms emptiness into purposeful fulfillment. You aren't just writing a second chapter, you're crafting an extraordinary narrative of authentic joy, purpose, and identity. Your story didn't end when your children left home. It simply turned a new, exciting page filled with opportunities you haven't yet imagined. Now ask yourself boldly, if your empty nest is truly an invitation, how will you RSVP? Because your life isn't just continuing, it's finally yours again, ready to be filled with beautiful things you've always longed for, and perhaps some you never even dreamed possible.